Come correct or don't come at all.
This is the Hartzog Hustle Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And we're talking about the hustle, strategy, and mindset you need to win in the areas of your finance, your purpose, and your future.
Know what I'm saying?
If you have heart and you want to learn how to activate the power of your hustle, then this is the podcast for you, baby. For you, baby.
Congratulations.
And now, your hosts, Anthony and Janilka Hartzog.
This is how it should be done.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. Of course, my name is Anthony, and I'm joined here by my beautiful co-host, Janilka.
Hello, everyone.
And then also, we have a very special guest, Amanda.
Hi.
So, we gotta get the background. So, we gotta get the background because we knew that we wanted you to be on our podcast from when we started from the very beginning. And you're an event planner.
I am.
You're an event coordinator. You are a hostess with the mostest. And my birthday was a big event in my life.
You don't remember? They haven't seen the video.
I was about to ask you. I'm all that.
My birthday was a big event in my life. We had family and friends come down, and Amanda planned it and hosted it and catered and did all that amazing stuff. So before we even get to my birthday, because we're going to give you a backstory on that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Amanda Nsofor. I am an event designer, an event planner, host, as you said. The business or the company that I run, it is Uptown Champagne Co. I've been servicing clients with that business for the past, I'd probably say 2 years, a little over 2 years. And so we do a lot of milestone events. We do a lot of baby showers, a lot of birthday parties. We do like girls' nights, date nights, and weddings as well. So anything that you could imagine or think of, we created. We take all of our clients through a full design process. And I always tell all my clients on the day of the event, we are the first people to arrive and the last people to leave.
I saw some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
When you popped up. When he popped up and started this.
So you've only been doing this for 2 years?
So I've been servicing clients for 2 years. I was my first client, actually. I started hosting events in 2015.
Okay.
I started an organization called Because Women Love Brunch. And I just thought that there was a lack of opportunity for women that didn't have a badge or a label. Back in 2015, they were doing a lot of events for bloggers, influencers. You had to identify in some type of group. And I just really thought that there was not a place for women of color to get together, to create kinship, to feel like they were seen, and to have like bomb events, like with bomb aesthetics and like photo opportunities and stuff like that. Like you always saw, people that were not of color having these really cool events. You could go, but you really didn't feel celebrated.
Yeah.
And so I started hosting events that way. And when I was hosting events, I never imagined where I am now.
Today? Okay.
No, it was never like, I'm going to host these events and then I'm going to host other people's events. I've always have people come to me and ask me like, oh my gosh, I love what you do. Like, do you do this? I'm like, for myself. Because I'm like, it's a lot. It's a lot to put into it, not only to host the events, but aesthetics and the vibe and just overall curation. So when the pandemic hit, I stopped doing events for large groups of people. But other people still wanted to have their own get together and shit. People were still doing 50. We in Texas. So
We never closed, actually. We never shut down.
No, so during the pandemic, actually, is when I started picking up on doing events. I would do like women's events, networking events for influencers. That led into doing just events for the clients that I have now. So.
Oh, wow.
So you mentioned people always came to you for this. Like, did you grow up with like knowing how to plan? Like,
Yeah.
is that
Like,
from
how
the
did you get
mom?
that training?
So I was definitely the person that, like, if you were in my class, like in high school, it was your birthday. Okay, we bringing cupcakes.
You're the organizer. You're the organizer.
I just always like to see people be celebrated. I've always enjoyed celebrating my own birthday for as long as I can remember. And so I think that was something that started like the love of just like being celebrated and allowing other people to know what that feels like. I think that's where it started. Even in college, if I knew you and it was your birthday, I was going to bake you a cake.
balloons.
Yeah, like that was just a thing that I did, and there was no rhyme or reason or nothing to gain from that. I really just enjoyed doing it.
Oh, wow.
What college did you go to?
I went to University of Texas in Tyler.
In Tyler, Texas? Oh, wow. They got a university.
We drove there one time.
We went to Tyler one time.
We did for a wedding.
No, yeah, not Tyler. They got a school there.
They had a gun. There was a gun store, and then they had a. They don't serve liquor. They don't serve liquor after like 12 in the afternoon or something.
They had them all.
Are you from Tyler?
No, I'm from East Texas. It's even smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
We went to Tyler for my coworker's wedding.
Yeah.
We drove down there. Only black people there.
Only, literally.
The wedding was in I want to say a barn, but it was like in a.
It gave a barn farm vibe. I don't think it was in a barn.
Not the coworker listening to the podcast.
He's amazing. Like he know what he got. His wife is from a small town called Tyler. He invited us. We went out there. It was dope.
That's hilarious.
And that's where you graduated from? You graduated? Okay.
I did.
From Tyler, Texas. Wow.
Yeah.
That's. So because women, was it called Because Women Brunch?
Because Women Love Brunch.
Because Women Love Brunch. What type of events were you throwing?
So we would do like, I remember we had like a day party. It was always all women.
Okay.
So always all women, always about 90 to 95% women of color. It would be all ages. So sometimes there would be people that are 21 all the way to people that are like 60.
Oh, wow.
We're all together, all like celebrating. Sometimes there would be like speakers or hosts. I remember doing like one to where people that were like specializing in natural hair, like they talked about hair care, different things like that. There was another event. We did the day party. We did one about like setting goals. So it would just be different topics. Yeah,
got it.
And I would like poll the community. So when I originally started, I like the first event that I had. It was like what is it called when you make the little vision board?
Vision board.
It was a
vision board party.
It was a vision board party at my community center at my apartment.
Oh, okay.
And then I got on Meetup. Like that was when Meetup was like first like kicked off and was big. And I went from like meeting with 15 people who was half my friends because I was calling them like, hey, I'm having this party.
You gotta show up.
You better
got
come.
to support.
Yeah. So it went from that to like doing Meetup. It was over 3,000 members from Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York. So I would host events in all these different areas. And so that just helped me
you started to travel to those places?
Correct.
Oh, wow.
So at the time, I was living in Dallas, and then I like got a promotion or something in San Francisco, but I was coming back all the time to see my now husband. And so I would come back, I would do events, and then I would be in California and I would do events. That helped me to like be able to I can like visualize an event. Like without ever you know this. Because you was like, you need to come see the play.
I'm like, I don't know where we gonna move this couch.
I saw it. I was like, it's already
I know how
in my
move
mind.
It.
Yeah. So if I can like see a place, it helps me to like visualize and definitely go through the process of like, I'm thinking of it as your guest entering the room and like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Like, what's the vibe? And I think doing all of those events by coastal and not necessarily being able to physically be there to do walkthroughs, that helped me to like
help with the business
that muscle.
now.
Yeah,
got it.
Definitely.
And you mentioned traveling. You mentioned a promotion. So I'm assuming that's your job outside of this, or
correct. I've moved on from the company that I was with since then, but I do work in technology. So I work in software development. And so I oversee teams and I help run like the agile process.
What's agile?
So it's like running Scrum, like basically saying in most organizations that are large companies, you work in what they call waterfall, or you have like project managers to where it's really top heavy.
Okay.
And you have to go through a lot of processes in order to do anything. You have to do a lot of paperwork, a lot of like, this is what we're doing now. Let's get upper management to approve what we're doing. They're going to set the budget, and then we do the work.
Yeah.
That's what you see. But in an agile environment, the development teams, you're self-managed. So I'm over the product, but I'm not over the team.
Okay.
Right? So if you work with me, you over yourself.
Got it.
Which is very interesting.
Got it.
It gets really interesting. But it's just about how nimble we are with creating products and how we work on vicious cycles of feedback. And we take feedback, or we do feedback loops or sessions on a daily basis or on a bi-weekly basis, to where we take that feedback and we pivot as soon as we get the feedback.
Okay.
So we're looking to get information early and often and put better products out sooner.
Got it.
So yeah.
So do you spend 40 hours at work usually, or is it more or less?
Yeah.
More usually? Or 'cause that sounds like that can be very time consuming.
Yeah, so it really depends. Right now I do contract work. And so it depends
okay.
on the contract that I'm taking on at the time. Some contracts, it's easy to do the job at a 40-hour capacity, but only 20 hours
Yeah, yeah.
physical work in time.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what?
Some of them 60.
Listen, some of them people, they will start a meeting. If the meeting start at 9:01 and I ain't on the call, somebody is pinging me. Are you gonna come to the meeting? Do you have the meeting invite? Let me send it. I'm like, I cannot do it.
I don't want that.
So it just depends. It
So
just
you
depends.
prefer the contract work though?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because it allows more flexibility?
It gives me more flexibility, and I can typically request for a larger salary, or typically when you're working in tech and you're doing like consultation work or something like that, you're getting paid hourly. And so you can request more on your rate per hour when you're not tied to whatever it is that the company is saying that they're giving you.
Got it.
Are most of your, when I think about, I was in technology before I just left my job, and most of my entire company,
Congratulations.
thank you. Most of my entire company were white people. And when you think about tech, you don't think about black people, you don't think about minorities, you don't think about
You don't think about women. I was about to
you
say.
don't think about black women in tech.
That's a fact.
So were you one of the only people on your team, or was it more of a, you had a more diverse group?
No, in one of the contracts that I'm doing, I was the only woman in the department, and the second person of color that was African American.
Wow.
So yeah.
Is it harder? You feel like it's harder for you? Being a woman and also being...
I think it depends on the people that you surround yourself with. So your manager does play a big role in what that looks like. So whoever is over the department itself plays a big role in what that looks like. I was lucky to have a department lead that was very inclusive, very like team driven, and understood what I brought to the table. So always invited me to share my ideas. And he gave feedback. I'm very big on, when I work in a job, I'm going to ask you for feedback. So I'm going to ask you how I did. I want you to critique me. Managers are not used to that. They're like, oh, I can tell you if you did something wrong.
Yeah.
So that helps to build those relationships. I think over time, in the past 2 roles that I've been in now, I've been there for 2 years plus, and I've seen more people of color
come around.
come into positions and different things like that, but not a lot. To be honest, not a lot at all.
Not as much as you would think.
No, not a lot at all. A lot of times, when you are working for large corporations, it's very structured and very strategic on the people that are in positions.
Oh, yeah.
You see a lot of Hispanic people in custodial work and sanitation. You see a lot of African American people doing security. And it's just alarming, like when you actually look up and see, like, not just what your department looks like or what your wing of the building looks like, but what the overall company, like overarching it is. It's very true when they talk about diversity. And when you look at a diversity chart, diversity is a lot. Yeah, we got a lot of people of color and a lot of minorities, but what are the jobs
What
that
is the
those
role that
people are doing? Most definitely. So you definitely see that and feel that pressure, that weight.
I saw that in my job as well, too. Like, I was in a director role, but out of all of the directors, we had maybe 15, 20 directors. It was 2 of us. Managing directors, there was 1. And everybody else who was black was on my team, the support team. We had, 30 people.
Right.
The whole entire company was under me. Under my managing
Yeah.
director, under the black director, under the black manager. So, are you very like outspoken at work?
Definitely.
Do you think that could be detrimental to
I don't
a
think
woman
I think
in tech?
I think that's why people typically hire Black women in tech in the roles that they hire us in.
Yeah.
So typically when you have a group of people that are self-managing, or you have large teams, like 30 people is a large team for one person to manage, right? I think that they want someone that's going to corral the group, right? And they want that structure. And so I think sometimes they lean on us for that, right? They lean on us to she ain't gonna say no, you know what I mean? And so I think that sometimes plays to our advantage, but you have to be careful about how they use you to have conversations and maybe do things that they should themselves be doing. And you definitely have to manage your manager for sure. Yeah,
I was definitely being managed by my team, so I didn't mind it though. I was a young manager, I had a young team, so I definitely understood that. But I also knew like the Black women on my team. I was always like, I want you guys not to fall into that stereotype where they're the loud Black women and you can't. Like, no, they're not angry. They're passionate about what they're doing, and they also bring you good feedback if you listen to it. Right. I was like, I'll listen to the conversation that they're having. So I just love that conversation.
And speaking about that with standing out kind of at work, when it comes to what you do now, how do you stand out from the competition when it comes out to the event planning?
That's a good question. I had somebody that asked me not too long ago. They were like, so who do you feel like is your competition? And I'm like, I don't know. That's not really something that I pay a lot of attention to. Okay. I think that I have in the past, and I do have times to where I do pay attention to what's going on in the market and who are people that do things that are similar to me. But it does not often benefit me. It more so gives me unless I'm looking at competition from a strategic perspective, it doesn't benefit me. It puts me in some type of cycle of where now I'm intaking all of this information and I'm not necessarily putting out as much as I should. But I definitely think something that allows me to stand apart is my ability to consider and think of like not only the person that's celebrating, but how their guests are gonna feel and how they want their guests to feel. Nothing's better than like when you do an event and how all your friends tell you how what you did was so amazing, and how they've never been to something like that, or how it was just so different. And I think that makes you feel good.
Oh, that makes you feel wonderful, right?
Yeah. Especially about the coin that you don't put out. You know what I mean? And I think
it's true because I know, like I told you when we started working together, I'm like, my mother like helps to decorate, but she's in New York. And she's on the side like, are you sure you? I'm like, I hired someone for a reason. Like, don't worry. So like my best friend, as soon as she walked into the event, she's like, did you FaceTime your mother yet? I'm like, no, I'm doing other things. She's like, this is really, so she called my mother and she's like, girl, this is it. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted.
I already put some pressure on me. I feel like my clients come to me with a lot of pressure first of all, to be like, hey, well, my mom, she plans events and she's not really confident in what you could do, but I'll hire you anyway.
I'm hiring you because I'm your mom then. I'm working with you. I'm working with you.
And all my friends and all my homegirls of 20 plus years, they flying in. So I mean, no big deal.
No big deal, but just make it work. Just make it work. Just execute.
So for sure. I think keeping that in mind, so wanting to make for sure that the experience is extremely memorable and thinking about it not necessarily as a celebration, but it's moments and its interactions and its curation.
Little touches.
And that's what creates the actual memory of the event itself. So it leaves you with, I don't know, a special little feeling after everything has been said and done. And I love the fact that my clients are vested in what we're doing in the same way that I am. I am very strategic on the type of clients that I take on and the type of work that I do. I won't compromise the work that I do. I'm not within everybody's budget, and that's okay. Sometimes it's sad. It makes me sad to do like consultations, and I'm like, that ain't gonna work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or to not be chosen overpriced, right? That happens, and I have to be okay with that in order to provide the best level of service to the clients that I do have.
Yeah, no, that's a word, definitely. And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So do you find that your clients are like reoccurring? Definitely. Do you find that once you do an event with them, then you're locked in?
Definitely. And I think that's how things that I do expand. Typically, I just want to do milestone celebrations, right? But and baby showers was never on my list of things.
That's a milestone.
It just wasn't on my list. It just wasn't on my list for whatever reason. Well, baby showers and weddings, it's very emotional. and it can be it's a long cycle of planning. So we're not like talking about, hey, let's get together for a shindig that I'm gonna have in a few months. We'll touch points a couple of times, but neither one of us are really fretting over it. We're not stressed out about it. But a baby shower and a wedding, we stressing. We talking often and plenty, and so it's a different level of planning. And so those are things that I knew that I would get to, but during my first year of planning, I just didn't know if I would. But taking on clients, it's like they become a part of my family, and whatever else they're doing, whether it is a baby shower, if they throwing a neighborhood parking lot, whatever it is, they are like hitting me
They're
up.
Like, hey, gotcha.
And we find a way to like make it work and make it make sense for sure.
With those type of milestones, you mentioned your wedding. You mentioned planning weddings. So with you being an event planner, did you like have any say in like your own wedding? Did you plan your own wedding?
So I did. Boy.
Wait.
Would you do that again?
Wait,
Not that you're getting married again, but
No. We gotta.
but would you plan your wedding?
So you planned your wedding.
I did.
So all right, we know the stresses of being a bride.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the stresses of being an event planner. And you combined the two.
Every single opportunity that I have to invest or take a leap on myself, I'm gonna do it. Okay. And so at the time that I planned my wedding, I had just planned events for myself. Right? But I had planned those events for up to 50 or 120 people. And so my wedding was an opportunity for me to take a chance on myself. I'm already going to pay somebody.
Why not pay myself?
Yeah. And if I hire a planner, then it's all of their connections and all their vendors. And I don't really walk away with anything. But if I do it myself, I can do the research. I can make those relationships and see just what I think about the process. If I'm not interested in it or if I'm not vested in it, then no big deal. But if I am, like, how amazing would that be? Like, I convinced my husband to buy me software to create.
Oh, man.
To create our
Shout out to the husbands,
wedding website.
Shout out to the
Really?
Because
husbands.
I didn't know at that point. I don't think I knew exactly
You
what
could
I
go
wanted
on-
to do.
oh, okay.
But I was like, I want to do something more creative, right? And so I was like, well, let me invest in this software, see if I really like it. I had made websites and stuff on like Wix and WordPress and different
and all
things
those
like
things.
that. But this would have been like a different level. And I had done some research, and I was like, well, if I could do this, then maybe that means that I would be creating websites for people. That didn't
work.
That did not. But I did. I created the website for our wedding, and then I ended up creating my website for all my brands. So I created the website for Because Women Love Brunch and for Uptown Champagne.
Oh, okay.
And so now, I mean, anytime that you can invest in yourself, my thought is that I can build up. It may not be this exact thing, but anything that I want to do in the future, I have the knowledge to at least create a professional website and a workflow process to intake clients. That may not always be for events. Who knows what that would be for? But I think like just putting those tokens into yourself and building yourself up in different ways, it's going to lead to something in the future for sure.
So you had mentioned that with the wedding, that was it. Listen,
How many people you got at your wedding?
Man, I have people that come up to me and they be like, "Oh, I know you," and I'm like, "Do you?" And they was like, "Yeah, I met you at your wedding."
Yikes! I can't imagine the stress
so
for
then
that
it was-
day.
Over 250 people.
Over 250.
Yeah.
You planned this wedding. How long did it take you to plan the wedding from engagement to marriage?
I maybe had 9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not that long, really.
Yeah, I wanna
if you've
say-
gotten married before,
I wanna
you know that's not that
say-
long.
So I moved back to Dallas because when I got engaged, I was living in San Francisco. I moved back to Dallas in like July, and I got married in October. So I was in Dallas to plan the wedding from July to October.
But you were planning from San Francisco. Okay.
Definitely.
Making phone
Definitely.
calls and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Would you do it again? Like plan your own big event like that? A next big event,
Yeah.
maybe you would do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that your first wedding? Yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I was trying to get. That was your first. Wow.
It was beautiful. I could
I looked
not.
at the pictures. I looked at the pictures. It looked dope.
I could not have imagined it any other way. It was so amazing to work with the person that did the actual decor work. So I did the planning efforts, and then I created this vision, or we created it together. And to work with someone who was, I learned a lot from working with him and doing those meetings, it was definitely amazing. I would definitely do my own large event.
Large event again.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I would just start sooner.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point to where, as I start doing events for this year, I have a team that works with me and like parallels some of the work that I'm doing. And so it'll be nice because I'll be able to plan my own event and have my own team. Managing my event.
So you don't have to be there.
I don't have to.
Event.
I don't have to be there making for sure that you got something to drink. Like, you know what I mean?
The little stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
You can just oversee.
I can enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to oversee nothing.
So what does your team look like now?
So my team looks like, actually up until probably the end of these last 2 years, it really looked like me and my husband. He unofficially,
That's what happens. That's what happens, right?
Man, he's been so amazing because I just couldn't do it all myself.
Right.
But I just didn't really know how to go about hiring someone. Yeah. So I would have people to step in and help here and there. Like I would hire someone for the day.
Yeah.
But he was always a constant in helping me with like packing and facilitating logistics, different things like that. And so now what the team looks like is myself as the lead designer, and then I'll have a coordinator or manager that helps with on-site to facilitate like what goes on at the events and just to make for sure that we're hitting like those memory milestone markers, like different things that happen at an event to like make things spark. And then also having 2 people that work on the back end to help with like research, development, client succession. And so really just trying to like create an overall flow.
A process.
Yeah, definitely. I have some processes that are in place that are good enough. But yeah, I've definitely done a lot on my own. And I'm thankful and I'm really successful. I'm thankful for the success that I've gotten thus far and where I've grown my business, but I know me doing it as a one-woman show, it's not sustainable.
Yeah,
right.
You can't scale it.
Yeah, and I want to be able to continue to provide the best service for my clients, and I don't know if I always want to be there in that capacity by myself. So
do you think you would ever do this full time, or would you keep your?
What's taking up more of your time right now?
Oh my gosh. What's taking up the most of my time right now is a new contract that I took on. I took it on because it was a really good opportunity for a really well-known Fortune 100 company. And I'm like, having this on my resume, this could really help me in the future. I would love to see how a company like this runs. Like, what is it like? Boy, I was like, you know what? I'll do it for 6 months. That was what I thought. I think I would probably say by week 2, I was like, maybe 3 months would be good. 3 months of experience ain't that bad, especially in tech. Like,
you put it on there.
This ain't that bad. Nah. So I would say that's taking up a lot of my time. But over the summer, that's when that contract will run its course. But other than that, right now, just trying to train and develop my team, like rework some of like the back end and like what that looks like from an accounting perspective, from a client perspective. So those are the things that I'm really focusing my time on right now.
Okay. With the business and you're continuing to grow, you said you've been doing this for clients for about 2 years. But as you continue to grow, where do you mentioned getting your teams in place so that you don't have to physically be there all the time? So what is the next step for you guys in terms of events? Is it like focusing more on the brunch side of things or those type of events or more of the milestone type events?
I'm open as far as the type of event. The type of event is up to the client. I don't have a preference on I want to do birthday parties or I want to do dinners. Whatever the client envisions, we can make it happen or we can make it work. I definitely see as we continue on in the future, we would probably do more larger events and more corporate events. So I see us doing more weddings and I see us doing more corporate events so that we're working actually Monday through Friday and not necessarily just on the weekend. I could see that as the pandemic kind of rolls off and organizations are starting back to do things for team development and growth and different things like that. From having a really heavy corporate background, I'm hoping to be able to bring those together to be able to pitch or present myself to organizations to where,
Brilliant.
to where we could do some different things like that. And then a different part of the business is really growing what our rentals look like. Okay. So we took time to invest from that perspective and trying to determine what that looks like in order to enter the market there. Definitely being an entrepreneur and a business owner, I'm understanding that ideas take a lot of time to come to fruition.
They do.
You know, there's been some things that have been on my list, and you know, little by little, I am chipping away at it. But really, to be able to not only launch some, I'm the launch queen. I can launch anything, you know. But to really be able to put a business out there that withstands the market competition, the test of time, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy and effort. And so I think focusing on those different sectors of my business, I just see what we're doing now growing in different ways in different branches and just trying to figure out strategically what's the next best move.
Okay. And you mentioned corporate events. What's the biggest event you've done so far? Has it been your wedding or?
Biggest in terms of people or money?
Yeah, people.
That's
true. That's true. There's a difference. Well, let's start with people and then we can get some money.
If you feel comfortable with the money, then people I'm curious about too.
That's true. I would say, it was probably my wedding.
Was people, numbers wise? Okay.
I think people, for sure.
And then numbers wise, something was bigger than your wedding?
Definitely.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say so. When you talk about the way that my clients like to cater the people around them.
Got it.
It could be costly.
Yeah.
So you're talking about events that, you know, have customized drinks, bartenders, servers, catered food, custom everything. You know what I mean? Its own venue, its own everything.
That's true.
And so I definitely think, like, in terms of numbers, I mean, easy for any event that we do is $7,000.
Right.
You know? And I think that's like me probably being
That's
nice.
on low end.
I
I
could do an event for $7. Like that's easy. I could do it for $4. I just can't guarantee exactly what your guests are gonna eat.
Yeah.
You know
So if you ain't got at least $5, don't
everybody
don't
ain't
hit
gonna
the
have
link.
a seat. Like some people gonna have
Some
to
people
like
gonna stand.
you're
But they're gonna dance
we're gonna
anyway.
have to do some cocktail tables. You know, we make it work, but
We literally just went through that too.
hey, you got to do what you got to do. So I think, like, definitely, but to do an event, a customized event that, you know, people bring to you from what they've seen on Instagram.
Oh, see, that's the thing.
It's an easy 10. Like,
So that's the thing. Do you find that when people come to you with things, when people come to you with like the Instagram things, because I know the Instagram is social media is a whole nother world.
Right.
So when people come to you with those type of events, do you find that most of them understand what it takes to plan an event, money wise and time?
I think that there's two different types of clients.
Okay.
There's one type of client that loves the work that we do, and they don't want to be super hands-on. They want to be able to trust whoever's going to do the process for them, and they have the funds to foot the bill. So they want to be able to have a bomb experience, and they want to put up the funds. They know that something that's nice isn't going to be cheap, and if it's cheap, it's probably not going to be nice.
Yeah.
And then you have some people that are like, balloons cost how much?
Balloons are pricey.
Bruh!
If I told him, I said, if I ever told you what I spent on your birthday, you wouldn't even. I said, you wouldn't even.
I never asked the number.
If my husband was involved, because remember, it was a surprise, so he had no idea. I was paying things on the back. I'm like, girl, I know this is due, but I got to wait till the check to come from my mother. If it come from my account, my husband go, no.
All right, so since we're here now, since we're here, so she planned my 35th birthday.
Yeah, 35th birthday.
And I slept through the whole entire event.
Because he was what? Drunk.
But no, to me, I didn't know the magnitude of the event. A dinner's a dinner. Until she said, we're getting dressed up to dinner. She's like, where this fits at dinner. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
At this point, it is way too late for me to show up to this dinner the way you want me to.
You came in staggered.
You came in
with help from your homeboys and some shades
Listen.
on. Like, when I told my husband where I was coming and like who I was doing the podcast for, he's familiar with a lot of my clients, right? And I was like the one where the guy was asleep. He was like, oh, okay. He knew like right off the bat. Yeah.
Immediately. And this is May of last year. So
your guests enjoyed
They
a
did.
5-star dining cuisine
Experience.
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
and the whole
like
experience.
the chef reading out the menu and talking about the different items, and you is in the king's chair on the end.
Yeah.
Like,
just sitting there. We had shades on him. You stood up for you stood up for the cake. We made you stand up for the happy birthday.
And I heard the salmon was really good. They mentioned the salmon a few times.
Oh my! I mean, past hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah.
I heard it was good. I heard it was
shrimp and grits was bomb. I remember that.
But your vision for that, how do you plan something like that? It's like, all right, Janoka comes to you and like, I want to do this for my husband's 35th birthday. Where does that even begin? Like that conversation?
It really starts with, I would say it starts with the client inquiry. So having the client to provide enough information in order for me to even be prepared to come to the call. And then it starts with really just a conversation going back and forth. And a lot of times that's where the client is secured in that flow of the conversation of like, hey, what are your thoughts? Like, what are some things that this person that you're celebrating, what are some things that they like?
Yeah.
Like,
you're like, what's his favorite songs?
Yeah,
what are
like,
things that he would say? What can we name the drinks? Yeah, things like that.
And so just having really like, let's just talk about who you want to celebrate and why you want to celebrate them. Let's start with the basics. And a lot of times I'm only asking a few questions, but the answers and what people are saying in between the answers and how excited they get when they talk about some things or how adamant they are about some things, I am able to remember either from memory or from notes, all of that. And I can sometimes make things happen that maybe you weren't clear was a top priority, but when you said it, I knew that it was something that was really important to you. And so really doing that, asking for specific things about the celebrant. I want to know like what's your nickname? What do people call you? Like what are things that like you always say that everybody know is like your thing? You know what I mean? I think that just helps to personalize the event and make it really about not only the celebrant but the people that know the celebrant. So, yeah.
Wow.
And I thought about this. So how do you find your clients? Where do you market somewhere? Like how do you find clients? They find you.
Word of mouth.
Referral base is usually how people find you.
So a lot of times it will come from referrals for sure. Like past clients are always telling their friends or family, or your friends or family was able to experience the event from you.
So then
I'm very adamant about when I'm at an event, I am very much working. Like, so even if I know the people, like if I know you and I'm at your event, when I'm at your event, I'm working, you know?
Okay.
And so sometimes what'll happen is, let's say that I'm doing your event and your friend that lives in Dallas was at your last event and they're at another event and they're like, hey, so I saw that you did this last event. I was thinking about you doing something. I don't have time to talk about that. Because to me, it's like very disrespectful. Like, I'm on the clock for you. I can't be trying to, I appreciate it and I understand like what they're wanting to do and how they're trying to connect. But I really think there's like a time and a place for everything. So I allow everything to go through the client process. Unless you're a previous client, then you can hit me up and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Let me know.
That's me.
Recurring client.
This year.
Let me know. A lot of people find me on Instagram. I don't post on Instagram a ton, but I am very strategic about what I do post and how I post it. Sometimes if I'm like in a really good moment of time, I am strategic about when I'm posting and different things like that. And when I say strategic, I'm not meaning I'm gonna post at noon and at 9 o'clock because that's when the most people are online. I'm talking about I'm strategic to say if I'm doing an event for you on Friday, I would make for sure that I post on Wednesday and Thursday. Because I'm going to be at your event. You're probably going to tag me. They want to see some recent work that I've done. And so I'm thinking or considering of things like that. Like a lot of times when I'm not necessarily looking to gain a bunch of clientele, I try to stay quiet on social media. And then when I am just pumping up the frequency, I'm a big believer, and it's not necessarily about posting every day. It's about the quality of your work that they can go back and see. So making for sure, definitely any business that I'm looking at now in 2022, I want to see what their Instagram looks like. I want to see what tag photos look like. Like those things to me are like beyond what you say that you can do yourself. You know?
Got it.
What is like the most outlandish thing a client came to you with the vision and is like, I want you to do this? And you was like, either you performed it or you didn't, but what was like the most outlandish thing they came to you with?
I would say the most outlandish last year, people was really with the themes. And prior to that, it was very much like, yeah, my favorite colors are black.
Okay.
And so I got to do with that as I please. You know what I mean? Last year, it was like, I want to do like Winter Wonderland and dinosaurs. Or
All
I
in
want
one?
to do, yeah, for sure.
Half and half.
Last year, towards the beginning of the year, I did like a Astro World themed birthday party.
Travis Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, let me think about
And
that.
I saw your face. You're like, Astro World. Yeah.
I was thinking about like Buzz Lightyear or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know Travis Scott for it.
I thought about it because I think Kylie did something like that for her child.
Stormy's
like
World.
Stormy's World. Yeah.
So I had a client. Her name is Jessica. So we did Jessica's World. She was turning 30, and that was really fun because it was like a space theme, and I'm all about, especially for like 30th birthday or 35 or whatever it is. Like, let's do something fun. Let's do something cool. You got to be an adult all the time. Like, let's do something like adult fun. And so that was really fun to do like a space kind of theme and like make it fun and make it like the colors that we had talked about and things like that. Sometimes it's hard because a lot of what I'm creating for an event, whether it is my favorite color is maroon, pink, and white, or it is I want Jurassic Park and an LOL themed birthday party, a lot of times what I'm thinking of or what I'm considering for my client's event, I can't necessarily find that inspiration already there. So I have to paint that picture for them and have enough trust. They have to have enough trust in me and what I'm delivering.
Especially if they're visual. Because sometimes it's hard to just
That's a
describe.
visual type thing. I don't think mine was the experience for everyone.
No,
we're really big on family.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like you can say like, oh, I'll do the rose gold and black, but I'm like, okay, but what's gonna be rose gold? What's gonna be black? Like I need to see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm just gonna replace this. Okay, you know what I mean? So like that.
I'm like,
So
okay.
yeah, for sure. And so it definitely takes building trust. I would say that's why I say my clients are definitely like my family by the end of the experience. We've had a lot of conversations, a lot of interactions, a lot of questions and answers on both sides, right? And a lot of trust is given on both sides. And I think for me, from my perspective, that always makes me want to over-deliver. I'm still at the point in doing business and hosting events, even when I was hosting brunches all the time, it was very rare that I would be at a brunch that I wasn't like, I was like, it means a lot to me for people to spend money to come out and support something that I'm doing and they don't know me. So I'm talking about growing to the point to where the 100 people in the room, you may know 5 of them. And so really having people to take that chance and that opportunity on your business, on your vision, to see things come into fruition, to create these moments and memories for my clients, it touches me. Like, I'm like, this is so cute.
And I guess speaking with clients, how did you know how to kind of like price yourself? How did you decide on this is going to be my price and I'm sticking
Base
to
price
it?
or
No, that's true. Definitely scary. Pricing yourself it's scary because, you know, I think having friends that are entrepreneurs and them being very adamant about making for sure. Everybody that I know that's in business that does work, they charge premium prices. Like the people that I know that are my friends that have businesses. And I think that gave me confidence.
Okay.
And being able to see those women doing those things for themselves. You know, I have a braider who braids my hair, and it's probably like $600 or $700.
Girl, this person you referred to me for nails, you don't remember?
no.
So I saw her getting her nails done online at home.
Yeah.
On Instagram at home. So I'm like, okay, this is great. What was happening? Maybe I just became pregnant. I don't know. I like doing things at home now.
It's beautiful.
Because now that people, I have my makeup artists come at home.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my hair braided. She's coming to the house. And I saw you doing this. I'm like, okay, you gave me the content. I'm like,
I told you it was going to be the fee plus $200.
I said, oh, okay. She said like $300 or something, like $200 to $300.
$200 for her to even step out and get into her car.
I was like,
this is not the service.
I said, where she live in Dallas? Like, where? I mean, I don't live that far.
She driving from New York or something?
She don't care. She like,
she driving from Houston.
I can live next door to you.
I was like, listen, no, don't get me wrong. People are going to pay it. So I'm not saying for her to not charge those prices.
No.
But I just was like, oh, child. I mean, I'm used to paying an extra coin for you to come to my house, but not this.
So, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Like, really, honestly, it's her and she has someone else that comes and does your feet. And they
so the
give
experience.
you, oh, my gosh, they give you the first time that they came to my house, I could have shed a tear because she was like massaging my shoulder. She had oil. I was like,
this is it.
This is beautiful.
You're like, I'm never going back.
I can light a candle. I got my PJs on. I got my Drake playing in the back. Like, I'm definitely an experience.
This is an experience.
Yes.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just not there yet with the nails.
I'm like, but all of the people that I know that are providing these premium services, they also give premium quality.
Yeah.
Like they give premium experiences. And I know for a fact like that my ability to plan an event or to do what I'm doing, I'm confident in the ability that I have and what I can deliver to a client. And I'm motivated by the money that I'm making.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I know for a fact that if I'm not getting paid what I feel like I should be getting paid, my heart ain't gonna be in
the
it.
quality, you feel like it's just not gonna be the same.
Yeah. So I think like definitely considering and looking, you do some research, but in all honesty, a lot of times the research that's out there, it's very outdated. Or it's just, it may not pertain to you and your ability. And so I really put myself out there and I started doing the work and I was afraid. Like, I mean, even though I had planned events for at this time, like, I don't know, 4 years or so, I was really nervous to put myself out there in this way. Like, I had already been known, at least in Dallas, for planning events and being like an influencer, different things like that. So it wasn't like I was just Joe Blow from out of nowhere, but I was still like really nervous to put myself out there and for people to, you know, be like, who she think she is, you know?
People gonna do that regardless.
Facts.
People gonna do that regardless.
So I set the rate. I remember looking at one particular person that does events in Dallas at a very high level, and I was like, well, let me see, like, what does she charge? You know what I mean? She was not a person of color, but I liked the work, and I thought that our work could be comparable.
Got it.
And when I saw what she was charging, I was like, okay, bet. Bet. I mean, because she's doing events, and people are hiring her. Do I see her name in lights every other day? No. But that's actually not what you need. I don't want to be overbooked. No, definitely. I always tell people, like, when I first start taking on clients, what me being booked to me and what it means to you may be two different things.
Right.
I could have an event this month and I could say I'm not taking any more events this month. I'm booked. I'm closed. You know what I mean? Just wanting to balance myself as much as I can or shift priorities as much as I can doing work from a corporate standpoint, being a wife and having a family in terms of like being a daughter and a sister and a friend, and also trying to grow a business. I don't want to put too much on myself, but I also wanted to make it worth it for myself to be truly vested from both sides, from a customer side and from like myself. Like myself, I always say myself and my team, even when I didn't have a team. Yeah.
Well, because we were talking about that. We were talking about that. There's like these memes out there where you talk about entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, I'm the accountant. You change the outfit.
I'm the photographer.
I'm the photographer. Change your outfit.
So yeah, so I'm finally out of that mindset. I invested in an accountant at the end of last year, and that was a really big step for me in terms of like being able to have more strategic conversations about where I want to take my business. I think that the conversations that I've had with like my friends that are entrepreneurs, different things like that, I think that has been amazing. But I think that you get to a certain point to where if you want to go to a different level or to a next step, and not to say that those people that you're talking to, that they're not there already, but they can't tell you how to get your own business.
Yeah.
Right. Two different things, two different markets, right? Two different people. And so just investing in myself and in my brand. Earlier today, I did like a product shoot, different things like that. So just putting into the imagery that I put out there, all of those things have always been a big payoff for me. So I'll always continue to do that.
Okay. So right now, I had a question for you. You ever thought about like owning your own like event space where you do your own events?
Definitely.
So I feel like that would be like a natural progression, but
that's true. But I also consider it's a lot. I don't know if people necessarily consider what all would go into that.
I don't. I'm just asking.
No,
I have no idea.
No, not you specifically, but I've thought about it, and I think about like, do I want to physically be there? Will the space run itself?
It's like a whole nother business.
It is.
I work out of my bed. So so even when people are like, yeah,
7 o'clock calls. I had 7 o'clock calls. I'm like, I'm at the gym. I got to do it now.
I'm like, I work out of my bed. So when people are like, yeah, you could just go there and work from there. That sounds great when you already work from an office. But when you compete, when my pillow's propped up in my little, you know. So I definitely see, you know, myself growing to that perspective. And those have been some conversations that I've had. But I think in due time.
Okay.
For sure.
I want to talk about your husband for a little bit because it sounds like he is involved.
He's
the MVP.
It sounds like he's there. He's rubbing your back, making sure you're good. What's his name? I'm sorry.
Constantine.
So I want to make sure that we give him some praise, some shout outs. But how is that relationship? You mentioned balancing everything.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? Because I think we still struggle with that a little bit, like balancing entrepreneurship with the
And
family.
is he an entrepreneur? Or is he still working?
A lot of grace.
Is he still working 9 to 5?
All the above.
All the above. Yeah, just like us.
You know what I mean? So like he was like the ultimate hustler when I met him. He was going to school to become a registered nurse at the time. And he recently became a nurse practitioner. And
congrats.
so, and over time, thank you. And over time, I remember when I first met him, he was like, I think he would buy and sell cars or like do trades
Like
from
flip 'em.
auctions and different things like that. Yeah. And he was always just hustling and always like just trying to get it. And I don't think that I had necessarily ever been around someone who was that hungry or that like willing to succeed, whatever it took. And I think that really motivated me. I was like, well, shoot, I can't have a boyfriend that's always like, you know, he always progressing.
And
He's going to want to see some progression in me. He's going to want to see some progression in me. And so, I mean, thankfully, we met almost 10 years ago. So we've been together for 9 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And so through different changes and processes and different stages in life, like continuous growth and continuous support from either side, like for sure.
Okay.
Shout out to Constantine because I know sometimes those hours may be off and he may be like, all right.
Definitely.
I know that
with
balance.
the parties, especially if you're working during the week and a lot of your time is occupied with events in the weekend. It's like, well, when do we step in? But if you're doing it together, like you said, if he's helping you to unpack and pack and be there, and you know, it doesn't feel so like separated.
And it was like that was a transition, right? So. He started helping me pack for brunch events, right? Because I was doing everything at that point.
Yeah.
And so everything that I needed, I would like sit out or sit in a space and then he'd pack it all up in the car, right? And then I would have women that would help me to unpack and do what I needed to do at the event space. But then I get home, I'm dog tired.
Yeah,
He unpacks
unpacking,
it.
yeah.
And
all that
who
makes a
knew
difference.
that he was practicing for when I had an event business. That was different and something that we had to adjust to because now I am out in downtown Dallas at maybe midnight leaving an event and he's like wanting to make sure that I get home safe or different things like that. And so I definitely think having that support and that hand and that grace from your spouse, it goes a long way. Yeah, no one is willing to help you like the person that lives, eats, and breathes with you and sees like you reaping from all of the hard work and all of the harvest that you've put in. So definitely thinking of different ways that it makes sense, not only for myself, but for him as well. But I think up until this point, just having the free labor and the manpower, because just some things I just can't physically do myself. I remember towards the middle of last year, I was having back issues. So it was terrible to where I just felt like I could barely walk sometimes.
Oh my.
And still having to do events and him like knowing what the circumstances was. So being able to step in and really help to where now all I'm having to do is just place things where they need to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and being able to bounce ideas and get feedback from him and different things like that really matters in a relationship. And I think our lines of communication have always been open, for better or worse, right? Sometimes you don't want the opinion.
Keep it to yourself.
And so, but I definitely think like having a partner that believes in you and is willing to vest their it's it's unexplainable for sure.
Shout out to Constantine, man. Husbands, man, we're amazing, yo. Shout out to
amazing.
us.
Definitely. I always tell my friends like that are like in the market or looking. I'm like, you have to find someone that really wants the best for you as an individual. Like, is always trying to not necessarily say you're not good enough, so you need to do something better.
Yeah.
But to guide you or show you opportunities or avenues that maybe you did not know existed. I won't forget when I was studying for a certification to actually go more onto the software side of tech and into the development side. His cousin actually was a mentor for me. And he had talked to me about the program and talked to me about it for, I would say, at least a year plus before I actually was like, I'll do it. Yeah. It was over a year for sure. And I won't forget when I went and I did an interview and the people had like called me. I can't remember how it happened, but I was out to dinner. They called me and I came back home and told him that I had like got the job. And I ain't never seen nobody this excited. Like, it was just his level.
Like he got the job.
Yeah, like his level of excitement and joy for me and what that meant for me and what that meant for our future. It's unmatched to see somebody that wants to invest in you, wants the best for you, and is extremely happy for you and at every turn, for sure.
Dope. That's dope.
For sure.
So I don't think we had anything else.
No, I just had one question. Like, what's the next step to your hustle? What's the next step to your hustle, and what's going on with you?
So
besides the contract that's ending in the summer.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. So the next step for me is really growing my team and really trying to put into them. I had a lot of people that reached out to me over the summer to do, or over the past year, to do like either internships or to do to do some type of mentorship or to be available to answer questions. And I really had to take a step back. That's something that I would love to do. But I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to pour, I need to pour in something that will provide a return for me at this point. I'm not at the point to where I can pour unlimitlessly.
You could charge a bag for it.
You know, I could, definitely. Maybe in the future. But I'm like, right now, and because right now, like strategically for me, right now is not the best time for me to pour into other people in that way.
Okay.
I would have to create a large enough gap in order for me to be just willing to willy-nilly freely like. But I think just investing and pouring into my team, into the people that are around me, I think that that's going to be huge. And I think that it's going to be pivotal to what the next steps of my business are. Talking with my accountant and talking about what the next steps look like from like, what do I expect to see from my business 3 to 5 years from now? Those are the conversations that we're starting to have. Would I always want to work corporate America? You mentioned that. So like, what would that look like? Like if I'm not going to always work corporate America, then what's the date? When is it that I would want to leave? And what would it take for me to work towards that? I think that those are some of the conversations that I see myself having now. I enjoy what I do from a corporate standpoint, and I've loved that life and that experience. But definitely as you're looking towards your future and growing your family and different things like that, you look at and consider your time differently.
Yeah, completely differently. It's a whole different.
So yeah, so I think for me, the word for this year is really just growth in a lot of different avenues, from a business standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, within my family. I see that in a lot of different ways and a lot of avenues. So I'm excited for what that looks like and the growing pains that comes with it. The,
gotta be
the
ready
trials,
for those.
Yeah, the trials and the lessons that come with it. And so I haven't gone through anything at this point that's knocked me down to the point that I can't get up. And so I'm excited to take whatever it is head on.
Okay.
We spoke about I actually got one more. We spoke about the future. Looking back, when you're about to start charging people, you looking back at yourself a couple years ago, what is one piece of advice you would give yourself when you were just first starting in this space? Because that may help her mother.
Always, I would say charge more than what you think you can.
Charge what you're going to do and add tax, like people say.
charge for the things that you're not saying that you're going to do, that you know you're going to do, because you want to see yourself succeed. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've done more than what I said that I was going to do, that even if a client gave me 7 to put on their event, that I spent 8. Like, especially when you're first starting, because you just want for things to be perfect. Yes, you want for things to be perfect. And anyone that is doing something, I would highly recommend for you to consider not only your services, right? The things that you're going to pay for, so like the goods that you're buying, but also consider, like, what does it look like for you to, what does it take for you to look like for you to promote your business to the next level? Imagery has a big part to do with that in events. And so I don't count on my clients to have a photographer. I would invest in a photographer. That goes into my price, right? Because that's in order to get me, I need my team to come. Right. So my photographer is a part of my team. So I think that just considering things from a wider perspective and a wider lens, and allowing for people that are outside of a lot of people will be outside of your price range. And everybody you know will always be outside of your price range. For whatever reason. Yeah. And sometimes it would be that they don't see the worth in paying you that. They go to somebody else and they end up paying that or more. It is what it is. So I would just say, don't be hurt by that. Definitely charge a premium. Charge premium prices for premium services.
Amen.
Yeah.
We'll wrap on that note. Amanda, how can the people find you? I know you're not accepting new clients right now, but how can the people find you if they wanted to?
That I wasn't accepting new clients.
No, she just said she don't want to be booked and busy is the way we think about it. She's like, my one client could be enough to pay me for the month.
How can the people find you? How can they support you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram. You can find the business at Uptown Champagne Co. You can find us online at uptownchampagneco.com. And then, of course, you can find me on Instagram at I am Amanda Nsofor. I was about to say my last name.
We're going to tag you, too. We'll
put it in the links.
In the show notes.
Because we'll be like, what?
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes for you.
NSO.
We'll put it in. Well,
we'll put it in the show notes.
Definitely. But definitely, if you are considering about an event, I think on my page now, I have a way that you can shoot me a text and we can chat about your event. I can send you the client link and we take on a call from there. So I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you again, Amanda, for being here. Quick commercial break. If you guys didn't know, we run a 6-figure cleaning business. If you want to learn how to clean houses without actually cleaning houses, click the link below, cleaningbusinessuniversity.com. And we're out.
Make sure you're subscribing, sharing, letting everybody know. We're also on YouTube, so you can watch the visuals of this. And thank you for joining.
Peace.
This has been an episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Janilka on Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that